So this is a little instructional video for or not to be. We'll at least get through the rhythm section and then see if I have the energy to go through any of the lead parts. Anything could happen. So let's just get into it. It's pretty simple. The A section is all based off a G chord kind of shape and a C chord kind of shape. So the G, you're just playing basically with your index finger on the second fret of the A string and your second finger on the third fret of the E string, make a G. But then what you're doing is you're going to turn that G into a G7 by putting your pinky on the fourth fret of the D string. And as I do this, I'm not really playing the whole chord usually. That makes it sound very bright. Usually I'm kind of sticking to the bass parts. So the very first part of the song would go something like, start going from your normal G to your G7. See, and I do take my fingers off and have right at the end there before I switch chords. I let a couple of open strings ring out. Usually the D. I think the D is the most important sound to get there before moving to the next chord. So the next chord is based on a C. So a normal C looks like this, where you have your index finger on the first fret of the B string, your middle finger on the second fret of the D string, and your ring finger on the third fret of the C string. All we're doing here actually is we're kind of taking off our index finger. So our C chord looks like this. This is actually a C7, I think. But the way we're going to play this is instead of putting our index finger over here and our ring finger here. So again, still do the same two things. It's actually just taking the G shape and moving your two fingers down. So this is the kind of C we're playing. But then what we do is we turn this C into a couple of different other C kind of chords. First by taking our ring finger and putting it on the third fret of the D string. And then by taking our pinky finger and putting it on the fourth fret of the G string. I believe this is a C9 or something weird. But the way we do it is starting from the kind of basic C7, like I said, the G shape, just shifted down a string. And again, after I do that few strums, I take off my hand and just let the open strings come out. So altogether, that sounds like this. And that's it. So that's basically the verse part of section A. Then there's what I kind of considered myself to be the chorus part. And that's still actually just using kind of G and C chords, but doing something a little bit different with it. So in this case, starting off on the G, we actually don't, it's even a lazier G than before. We don't even put our index finger on the second fret of the A string. It's literally just your middle finger on a third fret of a G string, and you're going to take your ring finger and put it on the third fret of the B string. So this is kind of your G. And what I realized when I was kind of playing around with this was if I take my index finger and do kind of the hammer-on, then I'm kind of making a D chord inside of my G chord. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And then we're going to follow this G with, again, a C, but we're doing kind of the laziest version where all I have is one finger on the C note, so that's the third fret of the A string. And then I'm going to be hammering on to make it a full C chord. So that kind of thing. So the way this works in practice, in the context of the song, is like this. That's it. So I'll play it through just the verse chorus one time, And then we can move on to the next part of the rhythm section in part B of the song that actually changes keys. So, from the start, this goes. And that just repeats endlessly. It's a friggin' 6-minute song. Little self-indulgent maybe. So anyway, that goes on for quite a while. After this, in kind of section B, is when I slide over here to make, this is actually, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's actually just a D chord shape basically that we've split up to the 7th fret. So this is actually a G chord up here. So the second part of the song, the rhythm goes. So what that is again, we have the D chord shape, the D major shape, up on the 7th fret, which is a G chord. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting my pinky finger on the 10th fret of the E string, and I'm taking my ring finger and putting it on the 9th fret of the G string. And this is actually, I believe, an E7 or E minor 7. I'm not sure, actually, I forget. I looked up, but I don't actually, as I'm writing songs, usually know the names of the chords, unless they're the obvious ones. This is just some kind of messing around. So anyway, what we do is, again, from that D shape, and then pinky up on the 10th fret, and ring finger up on the 9th fret, then slide back down. And what we're basically doing here is just taking our index finger and barring the high 3 strings, but then we're hammering on the 3rd fret of the B string, and this is basically kind of just turning it into a D. The way I think of this is from an F sharp minor into a D, but you know, this could be actually a bunch of different chords. Let's try that again. And that's it for kind of a B part of the song. It's just those, I guess, 4 chords technically. But that's it. So if we want to talk about what the lead guitar is doing at all, I probably don't want to get into everything. Again, it's maybe too long a song. But going back to the A section, so over the over that thing, actually the first thing we play is going back to this this G chord, this D shape, where all we're doing is kind of playing it from a high string up, and then doing a hammer on. And then going. So that whole thing was just playing with the G chord and with these hammer-ons. So. Then there's kind of a little run going. So kind of slow down. This is 7 to 8, 7 to 3, faster. 3 to 5, 3 to open, a slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret of a G string, back to 2, and then open, then a slide to 3. So just play it one more time, try to do it kind of slowly. Then it's kind of a repeated riff throughout the song, this thing. So what all that is doing is taking out the slides for a second. That is this shape, where it's your index finger on the 2nd fret of the E string, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. Take that same shape and move it up 2 strings and over 2 frets, so that your index finger is on the 4th fret of the G string, and your 2nd finger is on the 5th fret of the D string. And then again we move up a string set, and now it's our index finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and our ring finger on the 7th fret of the A string. So that goes. But the way we're doing it is with some slides and kind of going string by string instead of strumming. So it's. And then I do some hammer-ons onto the 7th fret of the D string. So 2 hammer-ons, slide to 9, then back to 7 and 5. Then we do the whole thing again. And now instead of just sliding here, we actually slide, again taking that shape of the index finger and ring finger, we're sliding that whole thing up. So what we're sliding, so that our index finger again goes to the 9th fret of the D string, and our 2nd finger to the 10th fret of the A string. Then we're just going to do that again. So that's again doing that slide to 9 and 10. Then we're taking our index finger and moving it back 2 frets and down a string. So that is to the 7th fret of the G string. And then we go to the 9th fret. Let me get lost. Let me just replay that. Okay, so we go 9 back to 7, then 10th fret of the D string to the 9th, and then 10th fret of the A string. So. Then once we're on the 10th fret of the A string, we slide it down to the 5th fret. Now again, once we're here, we put our index finger on the 4th fret of the D string. So again, we just have that shape of your index finger in 1 fret and your 2nd finger on the next fret 1 string higher, or 1 string lower, I guess. So now what we do is, so that is just going from the A string to the D string, putting your ring finger down on the 5th fret of the D string, and then sliding down. Then going down to the G string. So that's just 2, 4, 2, 0. So we're just going to play this whole sequence again. So. 7 to 4 to 0. And then we go up a string to the B string, and now we're doing the same thing kind of, but we're going to the 8th fret of the B string, the 5th fret of the B string, and the 5th fret of the G string. Then hammer on to the 7th fret of G string and do that again. And now we slide this over to the 9th fret and go, this whole thing is basically just taking two fingers on the 9th fret of the G and D strings, then slide it down to the 5th fret. So we go. So we move one of our fingers up to the 5th fret of the A string. And then we play the second time around, instead of playing the 5th fret of the A string, we play the open B string. So this is kind of the way this goes. We just kind of go back and forth, and on alternate passes, we either play this note on the 5th fret of the A string, which is a D, or else we play the high B. So it'll go. And then the last time we do this, we're just going to be repeating that sequence of the G string and the B string. Kind of building up some dissonance before we use our index finger and pinky finger to throw in the 3rd fret and 5th fret of the B string. So it's going to go. Speed, that's going to be something like. Where the last time you do it, you just let that open G string ring out. And then that leads us right back to one of the things we played at the start of the song, which was that thing with the slides. I didn't play that very well that time. Let's try that again. Oh god. So that's exactly the same as it was the first time around in the song. But last time, after we did this, we did it again, and did that whole thing. This time, after we go, then we go back to the 4th fret of the G string and 5th fret of the D string, and we have this sequence. So this is just two shapes, really. It's just this, so where you have your, say, index finger, 4th fret of the G string, 2nd finger, 5th fret of the D string. So again, two fingers, 1 fret apart and 1 string apart. And also, the other shape is your 2 fingers, 1 string apart and 2 frets apart. So all we're basically doing is sliding between these two shapes. So we go. So. Then we use our pinky finger to go to the 7th fret of the G string, slide it to the 9th, and go back down to the 4th. So kind of in speed, or at speed, that would be. Then there's, again, a little run. Should be a little bit harder to describe, but it's not too complicated. So it's a 4th hammering onto the 7th and sliding to the 9th. I'll just play it once or twice and then try to play it slowly. Okay, let's try to not mess it up. Hmm. Okay, so kind of trying to play that slowly. We have, I'm just going to say the fret numbers, and I'll be changing strings. This goes from the G string to the B string, and then we have some also using B and A, or B and E string together to do this kind of thing. So we go from 4 to 7 to 9, then we go open to 2 to 4. Start. Then we go to the B string. So it's just 3 to 5 to open. So from the start. And again, we go from 3, we slide to 5. But we put our index finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. Then we go. Then we move back, so now we have our 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and our index finger on the 2nd fret of the E string. Then we just take our 3rd fret of the B string, the 3rd fret we slide to 5. Put our index finger on the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, it's lost. We'll try it again. The last part is just taking the G string from the 4th fret to the 2nd and back to the 4th. Then just do that again. From this, we go to kind of the last repeating part of the song, or of this section. So what that is again, we have our index finger on the 2nd fret of the E string. We have our 2nd finger that's hammering on the 3rd fret of the B string. Time we do it, we slide from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. So. Then again, index finger in the G. Back to the 2nd, back to the 4th. So. We do the 4 to 2 to slide to 4. Put our 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the D string. Then we slide the 1st finger onto the 5th fret itself. So one more time, kind of slowly. So that last section is just using, again, this shape. You have 2 fingers, 2 frets apart and 1 string apart. So in this case, I have my index finger either on the 5th fret of the G string and my ring finger on the 7th fret of the D string, or I have my index finger on the 5th fret of the D string and my other finger on the 7th fret of the A string. So. And after that plays a few times, that part of the song kind of fades out, and then we move on to the B section. The B section, which again has the has the song, basically it starts off with a little riff that's inspired by this chord. So this chord, of course, we have the 3rd fret of the B string and the 2nd fret of the E string. So we're just doing that. We're going. Let's try again. Okay, let's try it again. So again, we hammer on the 3rd fret of the B string, then we play the 2nd fret of the E string, then the rest is kind of on the E string of just going to the 3rd fret, to a 5th fret, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, back to the 3rd of the B. After this, it goes to the G string. So that is just the 4th fret to the 6th fret to the 7th fret of the G string. And slide to the 11th fret. Then to the 14th. So one more time. The next kind of riff is going back to the 7th fret. So it's going 7, hammering on to 8. So we go. And you may notice this is inspired again by the other chord we were just playing here. So the chord looks like this. So we have our pinky finger on the 10th fret of the E string, and we have our 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the B string. So we're doing here, we're going to hammer on 7 to 8, and then we're playing our pinky in that 10th fret position. So that is, again, 7 hammering on to 8, and then playing with our pinky the 10th fret of the E string, slide to 10, this time, instead of sliding on the B string, we're actually going up a string. So this is on the G string, and this is going from 9, sliding to 11, and coming back to the 9 and the 7. So kind of a little faster. So the next part is double stops. This is again the same shape that we've been using off and on for the whole song, of having the 2 fingers 1 string apart and 2 frets apart, or else just 1 fret apart. But where we're doing this is at 7 and 9, or else at 6 and 7, and then going up to the 11 and 12. So if I recall, it goes like. Fret of the B string and slide it to the 15th fret. So. And then actually once we're here, we play a riff that is absolutely identical to the first one in the section, except now we're playing it starting at the 12th fret instead of the 1st fret. or kind of a zeroth. We just like moved up an octave. So before we were doing this. Now we're doing the same thing, but up here. After that, we're just kind of running down a scale. So just going 3, 2, 12, let's call it like 3, 2, 0, just up an octave. 3, 2, 0, 2, 0, then we'll finish it on the 11th fret, so it's going to go. So last bit is just a little slide from 11 to 12. The next part is some hammer-ons, the 11th fret to the 12th fret. We're doing it on both the D string and the G string, so let's go in and slide to the, I was going to say 2nd fret, but 12 is the 14th fret, so. So one more time. There's a lot of the time when I'm playing these, I'm putting a lot of vibrato on them. They're not quite full bends, but quite a bit of bending, just to give them a little bit of texture. Then we're on to the last part of the song. So after that, we play the B string on 12th fret and go. And this just repeats until the end of the song. So this is 12th fret on the B, down to the 10th fret, down to the 8th fret, down to the 7th fret, then doing a hammer-on, pull off, and then playing the 7th fret of the G string. Which is to say that note there. And that's it. Is that a D? G, C, D, yeah, so without playing the D. And that's the whole song. So hopefully that's useful to anyone who wants to learn this song for some reason. Thank you very much for your interest. If there's anything else that I've written that you would like to know how to play, just let me know.